The vote is split this time. I myself voted for seeing what the engineer and the polar bear were up to. I fear leaving the two least well-adjusted members of our crew alone to their own devices. The other vote, this time, was to see the fox and the rat and their capers. Understandable, although personally I'm confident that Joseph can handle himself against the rat. But as per the rules, there is an even split. Therefore, I must roll to break the stalemate. Evens, it is the rat and the fox. Odds, it is the polar bear and the engineer. A 2. Well, you have more confidence in Dr. Steele and Olga than I do. Time to see how Joseph and the rat are doing. Joseph managed to keep the rat in sight, despite the billowing clouds of dust. The white of her lab coat reflected his suit's light more than adequately to keep her from being lost in the gloom. But Joseph was not gaining ground either. If anything, he was slowly losing as the rat, unencumbered by any sort of spacesuit whatsoever, kept running. "Hold it, Anthrat," Joseph yelled at her. This had no effect apart from the rat woman looking back for a moment to throw him a contemptuous look. The chase continued through a stairwell and down a deck. Deck 4, new territory, which the rat probably knew far better than Joseph. "We aren't the bad guys here," he yelled after her.
"Is it the fox wearing traitor livery?
The rat spat and coughed a little as she ducked into a doorway, or at least tried to. She bounced off the makeshift barricade and started clawing at it to make a hole. Joseph had to laugh and use the time to catch up. "You pulling my tail? Really? You Gestalt have the gall to call me a traitor?" The rat was too busy dismantling the barricade to respond. A metal serving tray whizzed over Joseph's head as the rat finally made a hole big enough to squeeze through. By the time Joseph got there, she was almost through.
"Compressible rib cage, sucker!"
She was not quite fast enough, though. Her tail had not yet gone through. Joseph grinned a little, and he grabbed it and yanked back hard. It was very satisfying to hear that rat squeak as her butt retracted back towards the barricade. He couldn't get the rest of her through, though, no matter how hard he pulled. He didn't try too hard, though. He didn't want to hurt her despite her stabbing Dr. Steele. "Give up yet?" he grunted as he gave another tug. On the other side of the door, the rat was plastered against the wall, her claws digging for any purchase to resist the fox's attempts to dislodge her. She'd already scratched through the grime and into the paint on the wall.
"No, you're going to kill me."
"No, I'm not," Joseph said, rather irritated that this chase had gone on as long as it did. "I'm just trying to rescue people and figure out what happened here."
"Don't lie to me. You're working with humans. You have one with you."
She tried to get her tail back, but the fox's grip was solid. "Just the one. We're search and rescue. We're search and rescue. You've been out here a long time."
"A likely story,"
the rat said. "More likely than you know," Joseph grunted as he maintained his grip. "Look, this isn't very dignified for either of us. What's your name?" The rat paused, mulling things over.
"Izzy. You can call me Izzy."
"That works," Joseph nodded. "So, Izzy, what are you doing in that... what were you doing in that pod?"
"Like I need to tell you."
The rat scoffed. "Calm down and look around," Joseph said. "Think for a second. You're a science type, right?" Izzy did not want to calm down. She wanted the fox's paws off her tail so she could keep trying to get away and do that on her own terms. Then she saw the reason she came into this room. Glittering dimly on the countertop, this was the Galley, and she had found a knife. It was tantalizingly out of reach, though. If she could get the fox to give her some slack, she might have a chance to properly defend herself. She pretended to stop resisting.
"Yes, well, I worked with what I had. I needed to hide from the invaders."
"And who were the invaders?" Joseph asked. Izzy felt the fox's grip loosen a little. Now he was playing her game. She wanted him to drop his guard more, though. His grip still felt a little bit too tight.
"I didn't get a good look,"
Izzy said truthfully.
"When alarms are going off and they're banging on your door, it's rather difficult to get a good look."
"Uh-huh," Joseph said skeptically. "Banging on the door to a secret lab that doesn't have a door camera and security system? Steele had to hack it to get in."
"If I just wanted to hide as another corpsicle, I needed to hurry,"
Izzy said, again surprisingly truthful. "Right, so why'd you stab him? How do you even know what a human is?" Izzy used that moment to yank hard. The fox yipped in surprise, letting go of her tail. She immediately grabbed the kitchen knife, but she did feel like she owed the fox a little something.
"I don't like talking to enemies that are yanking my tail."
"I am not your freaking enemy," Joseph yelled through the hole in the barricade. He was met with a knife being thrown just above his head, sticking through another meal tray that was part of the barrier. At that, he beat a hasty retreat. He did see her grab another knife off a magnetic rack, though.
Balance was off. Typical kitchen knife.
Izzy grumbled and coughed at the dust. Ah, well.
Work with what you have.
Izzy, please be reasonable, Joseph started to say.
Not until you prove I can trust you,
Izzy retorted. Joseph backed off for just a moment. The barricade did not look all that strong. He thought he might be able to force it. He also could try to keep her talking and try to reason with her. She had an understandable case of paranoia, but he had an idea on how to get her to trust him. There was also likely another entrance to the galley. He could go around and find a different way in, or if there wasn't, he could seal her in until she calmed down. That ran the risk, though, of losing Izzy if there wasn't an exit he could get at in time. In the alternative, he could just leave her and head back to the others. He wasn't being paid enough to deal with this, or at all. He was a volunteer, and just let the rat fend for herself. An opportunity to influence the fox. Do we encourage continuing reasoning with Izzy? Should he try to find an alternate entrance? Do we have him try to seal her in the galley until she calms down? Or should he just walk away? Please vote in the poll in the description to register your preference. That is all. I bid you a good day.